Okay, well, good morning, everybody. There is a division happening across the prairies right now between the best and the rest of the dirt. I love it when I rhyme in the first line. Got a chuckle at a Tim, anyhow. And it doesn't matter whether you farm good ground or average ground or not so good ground. You need to hear what these four folks who price risk for a living are seeing in the numbers this spring. If you're watching on YouTube and you value this kind of conversation, hit like. If you want to catch the next one, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know the second we go live so you can catch us mobile on the run this spring. FCC, who's on the call, by the way, last minute addition. Thanks for coming, Conrad. FCC dropped the 2025 numbers last month. Canada's up 9.3%, not too shabby. Manitoba leading the country at 12.2. Kudos to Manitoba. Alberta at 11.4. Saskatchewan at 9.4. And inside Saskatchewan, West Central at 4.8, roughly half the provincial move. So meanwhile, the headlines since February have all been rowing in the same direction. Deere projecting 1.2 billion in tariff costs for 2026. CNH calling for a tough year. FCC projecting 22.5 billion in crop input spending this spring. Wow, you feel your wallet just going 10 billion on fertilizer alone. Ouch, we're feeling that. Statistics Canada confirming 2025 was a record canola crop. 21.8 million tons, bigger than 2017. Cereals in our area were crazy, through the roof, record production, but soft commodity prices, rising input costs, and land values continue to climb anyways. Something has to give. That gap is what this show is about. So just a quick story here before I get into introducing my guests and let them flow. We had amazing conversation in the green room. In 2000, I was 23 years old. I was just telling the crew here before, selling John Deere sprayers, eastern Saskatchewan, western Manitoba, and there was land that was going fallow. Nobody was renting it. And Tim was saying it was a really big win when he could get some of the land rented for the taxes. Can you imagine a time like that not too long ago? So there was land that nobody wanted to farm 25 years ago, and I remember the family farm making a purchase of, say, around 1,600 acres, and in that 1,600 acres there was a yard, and they took one quarter of scrub and turned it into farmland, and the net cost basis, the purchase price, you could take a zero off the number that FCC just reported. So it's 10x. And here we are 25 years later, and things have 10x. So we want to dive into that FCC report. Land in that area now is $3,500. It's pretty exciting times. But where are we going from here? So here's what we're going to do for you in the next hour. We're going to show you where the split is widest, who's still writing checks and who is not, and why, how the lenders are pricing this. We've got Scotiabank on the call and what to do about it. If you're buying, selling, or sitting on the ground this spring, if you own land, you're in this game, you're long this game. So with me today, I have quite the panel. Very proud and honored to have such esteemed folks here today with me. And Tim Hammond, 25 years selling farm real estate across the province. If there's a pattern in the data, Tim's going to see it rhyme before. And you don't have to rhyme. You can rhyme today if you want, Tim. Do you think you'll be rhyming?
I don't know. I aspire to rhyme, but I don't know if I can wing it like that.
He aspires to rhyme higher. No pressure in rhyming there. And then we have also from Hammond Realty, Bobby Montreuil on the trail of deals. I got that right. He's got a lot of vowels, folks. You got to give me a break here, but we got it right. I think, Bobby, is that right?
Got it right. Yep.
Sweet. Active producer, sells farm real estate. He's on each side of this conversation. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And then, wow, who else do we have? Well, we have Courtney Thevenot, ag lender with Scotiabank. She sees the deals before they close and the ones that do not. Good morning, Courtney.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Oh, thanks so much for jumping in too. That was great when you heard you're coming on to fill in the gaps in that regard. And then the newcomer, the newbie, the handsome young fella. When you showed up there yesterday, I go, oh, I know that guy. Oh, he's a wonderful young man, and all kinds of compliments. Conrad Olson, ag lender with FCC out of Rosetown, 10 years financing West Central deals. So he knows the dirt. A decade. When did you start doing this? When you're 14, Conrad? You look like such a young fella.
No, I started when I was 25 with the credit union and switched to FCC, and Now been with FCC for 8 years and financing in the West Central area. And thanks for having me, Dan.
Well, it's going to be great. And it's good to have FCC in the room because we talk a lot about FCC. And now you're here. So you can correct us or enlighten us or whatever it looks like. So we're going to get into it here. And I think really, Tim, we want to start with you. FCC just gave us three different prairie provinces going three different speeds. You're closing sales over the winter. What is the market telling you that maybe the headline number isn't?
Well, I can just feel kind of momentum slowing down, right? And we've got two different kinds of markets right now. We've got good land in good areas, and we got average land in average areas. And the demand and appetite for each one of those is a little bit different. So when people ask me, is land values going up? I say yes. If they say, are land values going down? I say yes, because it really does depend where you are. And not that we've seen a lot of drops, we've seen a little bit of dips, but we've seen kind of more pressure to go sideways on the average land in the average areas.
Yeah, and you had some conjecture about why that is, and I want to dig into it because I think ultimately we need to get down to like, this is a symptom of what? What is this a symptom of? What does this mean strategically? But Bobby, you're in the same business and you're farming. What are you seeing out there that's ahead of the headlines, I guess, or more of a leading indicator?
Yeah, a little similar to Tim, not exactly the same. I finding in the areas and the clients I serve, more selectiveness from buyers, more digging in deep, kind of analyzing a deal. On the selling side, more price discovery, more valuation, kind of maybe quietly getting their numbers in order. So different change in behavior, but I'm not necessarily seeing a slowdown in price yet. Say, for example, a tender sale where we're still kind of achieving the price the seller wants, but maybe just not as many offers on it. So, maybe an indicator that a slowdown's coming, but I'm not quite seeing that yet.
Yeah. Conrad, what's your take? I'm interested to hear what your position is, and also can you give us a little bit of context on the report? In the meantime, I want to launch this poll on where you think farmland value is going, folks, in your area in the next 12 months. Please inform us. So, Conrad, what's your take?
I would I agree with Bobby there. Like I remember when I first started FCC, when tenders came available, I'd be getting 30 people pre-approved for the same tender, and now I'm seeing 4 to 5. So we're still financing the same amount of dirt out there. It's just less players at the table. People being more pickier and choosier with their land choices or what they're gonna stick their neck out on. And seeing the values, like I would say, like West Central might be the kind of sticking point there, just mainly because if you see Sask at 9.4 and then West Central at 4.8, like in our area prior to this year, we were dealing with tighter margins with some poorer crop years compared to the rest of the province. And I feel like that's kind of trickling in. And now we had a good crop year in the West Central area in 2025, but the rest of Saskatchewan, maybe not necessarily. So maybe we're just starting to see what's been happening in West Central bleed out into the rest of Saskatchewan there.
Yeah. And how do you view it? Like I read that Farmland report. I was proud of myself, did a little bit of homework there. Felt like I was in high school again, but like it's so bullish, really. Like there's no cracks in the foundation yet. Like, but that was 2025, and now like Tim is telling me when they actually close some of the deals they're working on right now, it might not be until fall. So you're not going to see that until this time next year. What happened this year? Can you reconcile that for us?
Like I'd say, yeah, it's a lagging measure, the farmland values report. So it's based off what happened in the past year, as you stated. And like I know FCC halfway through the year puts out, as Tim and I were talking before, what we're seeing in the first half of the year. And I would be very interested to see what that data comes out at when we're in July, August, the midpoint. But
right.
Yeah, from my perspective on that front, I'm not seeing any of the land prices, anything crazy like, oh, I thought this land should have went for $3,500 an acre. Now it's selling for $2,800 an acre, but I'm not seeing the year over year increase on the early sales this year. And so maybe it's a stagnation, or we're just more of going to not the year over year 10% increase, more of the just nominal increases each year on the farmland value.
Slightly less irrational exuberance. Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Just bring it down, bring it down. But
We're
Courtney,
holding steady, but
holding steady on the irrational exuberance. Love it. I don't know if it's fair to call it that or not. And take me to task in the chat. Let's hear from you guys. Put it in the Q&A, put it in the chat. This is for you to have the experts at your kitchen table this morning, courtesy of Growing the Future. Courtney, when you guys are doing your PowerPoints with the graphs and stuffs in the boardrooms with your laser pointers, what is that showing of Q1?
It's there's a lot of land still moving hands, and there's a lot of I'll say from the we're not seeing any indications of things necessarily slowing down in any way. There's still lots of transactions happening, and leading into spring here, there's still some things that are moving and closing, and it's hard to. You can't paint the whole geography with the same paintbrush, because there are. I'll say there's definitely micro markets in different places where there's higher competition for specific land than there might be in another area, and we're definitely seeing that there is lots of demand out there for land, and to the point of there's some of the more marginal land might be staying on the market a little bit longer than normal. It kind of depends on what type of package is being put together too. So, one piece of, we'll call it maybe not the highest quality land in the area on its own, is going to be worth different amounts to different people, depending on, does it fit in their package? Is it something they can maybe grab for the right price that will fit nicely into their operation, that helps them get to the right efficiency size that they need to, and that just fits great. But if that area, everyone is sort of right sized their operation already, that one piece of land might not have the same value to those operations. So it is very, again, it's a big geography, and you can't paint it all with the same paintbrush.
Yeah.
So we can't talk in these general terms, because it is very different in different pockets.
Yeah.
So glad you came on the call, Courtney. Such great points. Hey, Tim, I'm glad of you.
Oh, yeah.
Tim was like, we got to get Courtney on. She's brilliant, and I agree. Tim, I'm going to put you on the spot, not to rhyme, because we already covered that ground. Okay, you don't have the rhyme, but what percentage of folks on the call? I think we had half, 57 and 99, 57% participated. How many of the folks, what percentage of the folks would you say would vote that it's going to be flat, not up or not down? What percentage?
I'm going to say 50%.
That's why you get the big bucks, man.
Well, I told you, Dan, I'm not an expert in farmland values. I'm an expert in human behavior as it relates to farmland values.
Well, and it's all about psychology in the market, and I want to readily unpack some of those things, because I think that's what's most telling. And when you talk, Courtney, about land still moving, I'm curious, like at what price and why and where. That's what's really interesting to me. But yeah, we had 5% say up more than 5%. So there's only 5% that are really bullish, according to what we saw last year in the Farmland report from FCC. Isn't that telling? 19% said up to 5%. So that's kind of a narrow little window of like little bullish. And then 53% are thinking flat in their area. Half of the folks are thinking flat, and 18% are bearish, and 5% are prudent and saying maybe there's no way of knowing the future. But history leaves clues, footprints in the sand, so to speak. But yeah, what do you really make of that, Tim? Because I wonder if we asked that poll a year ago, what it would be different, or 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, if it was a year ago, it would be different. I mean, just the whole momentum is shifting, and and I asked kind of Conrad about that FCC report, because they also do a mid-year, which I really like now. Now they're going to every 6 months, right? And so the first half of 25, it was up 6%, but the whole year was 9.4%, right? So does that mean that the second half is 3.4%? And that's not exactly correct, but it is, right? And so that's what we're seeing is farmland values are increasing, but at a decreasing rate. And I can just feel that momentum. It's slowing down, right? And that's even, like I said, the deals that we're doing now, they're going to show up in the data, far down the road. And so I always struggle with these reports because I'm operating 6 to 12 months ahead of when the report is actually issued.
But you could always say, hey, it went up 10% last year. Let's go.
I got a story, depending whether you're buying or selling, right? We can say anything.
But to tell that story, I thought it was so interesting about how for the first, what was it, 10 years of your professional real estate career, you kind of always wondered, like, what am I doing to these people? Because they're buying farmland. Are they going to make it? Because
Yeah.
you weren't bullish. You're a child of the 80s like me,
Yeah.
who was sort of like, yeah, I don't know if you should farm. You better love it because it's going to be horrible.
Yeah. No, I was on the farm in the 80s and then in the industry in the 90s, right? And FCC, right? And there was a lot of debt settlement. And so when I started selling land in the 2000s, right? Like every time we did a deal, I just, prayed that these people would make it, right? Like that it was going to work. And it did all work. But because of my experience and context, I didn't have that same confidence, until about probably 2007 and 8. And I'm like, okay, this has got legs under it. It's going to continue.
Well, and those that recognize they're on this curve that eventually it's all going to go up and it's going to deviate a little bit. You were talking about a producer who bought for 2,100 instead of 1,800, which was the benchmark, which broke the seal on that. Oh, like you're buying at the top, but he knew a fella that we both know that's always 2 years ahead of the curve. God bless him. He knew, and he was right, and that's how fortunes are made. That's how fortunes are made. Just recognizing that your cap rate's always going to reflect the land that you first bought, which you should have bought more earlier on. But I wanted to talk about information sources and pivot around here to get everybody's take on this. Where do you get your information from on local farmland values? Because this is a pretty important metric, and I love how Trent Clarenbach, he took the time to chart it, much like the first futures chartist did rice back in the, what was that? I don't know, 1400s or something in Japan. Ooh, interesting. So where do you get your information? Is it your neighbors and coffee shop talk? Well, this is shaping up to be a doozy. Your local farm real estate professional. Insert Hammond Realty. Give them a call. Your lender, Scotiabank, we got one on the call. And then FCC, a young, handsome fellow from FCC's here. Growing the Future Productions could be a source of information. You got to fact check me. But there we had a vote for Growing the Futures. Where do you guys get your information? Like Conrad, where does FCC fit in the pantheon of things that you could read or learn from or contact, or where is everybody getting their information from?
I regularly get calls. I find that people try to multi-source it. So look, FCC is definitely one of the number one calls. It's because we have the Farmland Values Report. We track sales and everything, and with their online services, like within a 25-kilometer radius, so their nearest town, they'll check that. They'll call me directly. And then, as Courtney mentioned, the micro markets earlier, like it's specific. Though, like I even lean on those guys in those areas, because they can see the trends quicker than I can. So I think it's a combination of probably the realtor and then either FCC or their lender, and then in the more specific areas. And I think that's more of the coffee shop to figure out what's going on there. So.
Okay, I want to get to the chat here just quick. I'm going to summarize a few of the comments and then we'll go around the horn on this information thing. John Mako said on the last survey we did, the previous one, you couldn't have expected a more perfect bell curve in the responses to the last poll. And I think you can come to Growing the Future for your information. Take 100 folks, and these are the right 100 folks. And if half of them are answering, I would take that to the bank. I would take that to Courtney, or whatever it's worth. Courtney, I'm coming to you with that. Jonathan Adams is saying best place to get values is the Saskatchewan Comparable Farmland Reports. Okay, I'm not as familiar. Riley Wallace agrees, and Harry Siemens says as a farm journalist, I go to FCC. Stamp of approval from Harry Siemens. The Sask Comparable Farmland Reports. Where are people getting their information? Where are you getting your information from, Bobby?
Yeah, I think they're referring to the Farmland Security Board database, which we reference lots for area-specific data. Just for farm will come to us, and we rely on that quite a bit because you get, as soon as a transaction's reported, you can either search by RM or kind of within a 9-mile radius of a land location. So Yeah, we use that. We pull a lot of sources together when we're doing valuations and that for customers. So that would be a big resource when we're on the real estate side. On the farmer side, I guess you always hear the high numbers in the coffee shop, right? Or if you're out whatever in town getting parts, it's so and so paid this amount. So then maybe I'll kind of fact check that or ask around. But I guess it's a combination of both.
Well, there's a few people that voted for the coffee shop. Let's be real. And I'm wondering, Bobby, did Tim make an AI agent to parse all that data daily or whatever? Is he?
Did Tim make an AI agent?
Yeah.
Not yet, but it's on my list to do, Dan.
News to
I
me.
can see the light bulb on Tim's head. I have another AI project, honey. You won't believe it, what I learned today.
Yeah, it's the best raw source that we have, but it's very raw and it's incorrect. And so you really have to filter it and research it and dive into it to pull the nuggets out, right? And I think we could use AI to do that faster anyways.
Is Trent on the call? I wonder where he got, I didn't catch it. He probably said it, but do you know where?
From That's Can.
Oh, okay. That's where he got his information. Yeah. Trent, if you're on the call, maybe you could enlighten us about where you're getting that data that you're using to make charts. He's not on, but and then so Courtney, what are the banks? Well, I can only imagine. Can you even talk about this? Like secret? What's the name for it? It's like Bank Seek or something, or what?
Probably less sexy than you might think it is. There's not this crazy big data pool. No, we're connected with our clients. Like we're at the end of the day, we're there to help our clients and serve our clients and provide them with the whatever information we have at our fingertips to help them make a good decision. But largely, again, there's an ecosystem, so it's not. We're not just sourcing data from one individual area, and to the point of both Tim and Bobby and Conrad mentioned too, going to the Farmland Security Board land data sales database. I guess we utilize that, but largely connected in with all the various sort of realtors like Tim in the area that they're in tune. They're the ones who are seeing it all day, every day of what's happening, where the bids are coming in, where the interest is, and rely heavily on those. The farmland report that FCC puts together is a great source of data as well. And again, it's putting all these pieces together to make a story. So it's not just one source of truth. It's fact checking all of them against each other. What makes the most sense, and what can you infer from all these pieces together? Because again, a lot of the data we're looking at is historical. So you got to take that historical data for, what happened in the past, what are the trends, and then what is currently being talked about in market at, say, the coffee shops, with all of the various realtors of what kind of conversations are they having with individuals on the buyer side and the seller side, and then putting it all together. So, it's converging a lot into one piece.
I'm just chuckling because doesn't it always come back to the coffee shop? I mean, everybody says this and that, and at the end of the day, Tim, I want to put you on the spot again. What percentage of folks would turn to their first read on local farmland values from their neighbors and coffee shop talk?
A lot more than are going to admit it anyways, but I'm going to say on your poll, it's 15%.
Oh, 26. And you know what? I noticed too, that was the first, the I don't know if it's like the 9 quick starts like you and me, Tim. We're just hitting that in seeing my neighbors and it's at the top. If you're one of the folks that chose neighbors and coffee shop talk, I'd love to know why I put it in the chat, because I probably hit it just being a 10 quick start at the top. But also 22% said local farm real estate professional. I still think that, in all fairness, just akin to being like an equipment. If you're an equipment salesperson, they know what's happening with the used market. They know what's happening with the new market. They're talking to people every day about buying iron. Who would know better? Nobody. Honestly, in my humble opinion, nobody knows better. And maybe that should be your tagline. I give that one away for free. Put a quarter in the jar if you use it. But And your lender 15%. So Scotia's in the mix.
I'm surprised that your lender is 15%. I thought that would have been higher.
Yeah.
Because I do think producers really trust their lenders. And I mean, FCC's got a very methodical way of doing it, and it's a great way to benchmark. But I do think that the clients are talking to their lenders kind of more often than not. I thought ours would be a little bit lower. I do feel people do call us and they want to know what's going on, but I think they could call us more, Dan, right? And because we give a lot of valuable advice and and we love doing that, right? And we're not going to charge for that. We want to share, but I think there is a little bit of, geez, I think I'm taking too much from you, right? But we want to share, right? We want to tell you what's going on in the market.
You hear that, folks? Tim's bored. He wants you to call him up, chew the fat, or better yet, you guys go to the coffee shop together. You and Bobby and Tim.
But for all of this, though, it's not like, it's not like one of us lives in a silo. Like, we're all talking to each other. And so when any of our clients, like, we're talking to our clients all the time. And if, we're connected with our portfolio of clients, they're talking to other people, and we're getting the tidbits from the coffee shop. We're getting the tidbits from all the realtors. We're putting it all together. We're talking to everybody directly. And this is a living, breathing conversation that aren't happening in silos.
Well, and that's what might shock some folks, just even with your Build Your Ag Dream team. I don't know if people knew how connected you are, because you have the cross-pollination with clients and topics and stuff, right? It's the same water cooler. Harry Siemens, thanks for coming on, Harry. I really appreciate you. We had a great chat the other day. Senior journalist, been around forever. I'm on his daily devotional, actually. I appreciate that, Harry. So thank you. Question and observation answers when I ask, why did you buy and pay top dollar? Number one, I can. Number two, not making any more land. What a maxim for the ages. In fact, the statistics say that land is disappearing at an incredibly shocking rate. And I read in the report that the urban consumption of good farmland is an issue. And question, always curious how land buyers pencil it out when input costs keep rising and commodity prices must be uncertain. Well, 2010, Tim started believing.
I need improvement. Yeah. But you know what? People have always said that as long as I've been in this industry is, land will never pay for itself, yet somehow it always does, right? And people find a way to kind of make it work. And I'm always amazed at how they make it work anyway. So even though the numbers don't look like they're going to pencil, it just seems to take care of itself.
Well, and we were talking about, go ahead, Courtney. Sorry, go ahead.
I can speak a little bit even from a lender side. So it's not, when you're making any type of decision to buy that package of land or buy that parcel, you're not just, again, nothing ever exists in a silo. So how does that fit into your bigger plan? And how does that fit into, your strategy for right sizing your operation and for growing? And, when we make lending decisions to, support those types of purchases, it's, do you have the cash flow to be able to make your payments? And, obviously there's volatility in agriculture. It's not a one year observation, looking over the trends, and, are you becoming more efficient with that? What does that do to your numbers? There's projections, there's sensitivity analysis. Like, we're lending to the whole operation. We're lending to the farm as a whole, and not for that one piece of land only. And it's working with producers who put that plan and vision together, and how can we help you support that plan?
And for the long term,
you keep pitching me little points there, Courtney, but I'm going to go over to Bobby. And but I want to talk about strategic efficiency focused purchases, and I want to talk about how succession fits into this. But go ahead, Bobby.
No, just to kind of touch on that. Heard that lots from some clients pushback on, commodity prices or input costs for this year. But those are short-term challenges, and a lot of these folks, if you're going to go buy a piece of land and go sit down with Courtney or Conrad, you're looking at it over 25 years, rather, couple decades rather than a couple of growing seasons, right? So there's always going to be short-term challenges, but you have to kind of look at the longer picture.
Yeah, let's go back to that strategic piece. Conrad, you had a piece there. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to piggyback off it. Yeah, this year it might look like tighter margins, but we don't look, at least at FCC, we don't look at farming on a 1 year basis. Farming cyclical. So let's average out what have you produced on a 3 to 5 year basis. And then what have your costs been on a 3 to 5 year basis and average it out? And in the grand scheme of things, is it affordable? And this 1 year with the lower commodity prices and higher input costs, maybe that changed the equation a bit. But as Bobby said, it's on a 1 year basis type thing.
Well, I'm so glad to have FCC's perspective on the call. Thank you, Conrad. That means a lot. And that segues into John Mako's comment, which I'm going to give you a chance to retort. John Mako is saying FCC is a significant lender, so those responses may be somewhat mixed. Is that true, Conrad?
I think he's referring to your poll there, where people get their farmland values from at lender or FCC, and I think people chose FCC on that front. And it would be in the same bucket as a lender because we are a large financer of farmland in Canada there.
So. Okay, so it's not. Yeah. I read it as maybe like there's some bias there, but there's no bias evident in your findings.
Better questions, Dan.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. I like that one though. And then Riley Wallace is saying if the blended interest cost over the term of the loan is close to rent cost, that's my cue. Ooh, that's a lot of math. What do you think about that, Courtney? Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah. Again, there's different ways to look at any opportunity. There's, my conversation or point before about looking at it as a whole and how it fits into your operation. That's not the only way to look at it. There's, what does financing that specific parcel, what are your financing costs for that parcel versus what it otherwise would have been if you were renting it because you want to farm that land anyways, and making that decision. So there's always a cost benefit analysis that happens parcel by parcel, bringing that back into how it fits into your bigger plan and the strategy for the whole farm. So again, there's a lot of data analysis, details, math that goes into all of these decisions, and everyone will have their own view of what works for them or where their risk appetite will be on what price are they wanting to pay with the interest over the life of that loan. But it's different for everybody.
Well, and you talked about the microeconomics locally too. I think has a big impact. But Randy Kading is saying there are many people watching the potential sale and value that Manette offerings would bring and what that would mean for a trend in values moving forward. Tim, last time we talked about this, you deferred to comment because you don't have any kind of fancy inside information. But it made the papers.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are looking at it and they feel like something's changed. But I think this goes to the strategic thing. I think that's just the business strategically doing what's right for them, and God bless them. Tim, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I need more data. I need to see what land sold for, what it sold for, right? And to kind of analyze it in that market. So I really don't have enough information. I've just got the coffee shop talk out there. And I mean, I can speculate all day long, but what if it won't get us there, right?
I don't want to do that on the show. And it's we won't. But I mean, it is material in our conversation for farmland values, in all fairness, due respect.
Yeah. 100%.
But I can also say that anytime that there's large packages of land for sale or smaller packages, like in the past, we have seen things move and there is still demand out there. And, whatever any package of land on the market does to the same point that, we've been talking this whole time, land is continuing to appreciate. There's different changes in different markets. And at any point there's a package of land in any market, it's going to affect the dynamics. And, time will tell on how anything plays out. And, are we going to be up 9.3% again next year in Saskatchewan or not? I guess we'll see. But the early indications are showing us, and we're all kind of seeing it, that land continues to change hands. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Conrad, do you guys have any insight as to how things are going, like Q1, Q2? I know you do the interim report, but do you have official FCC numbers that you can share exclusively with Growing the Future audience here today for free?
I don't have official numbers. I would say I talked to our valuations department a bit before the podcast, and kind of what Tim said earlier is the high quality dirt seems to still holding its value or increasing. And the marginal land, we're seeing some, it's either staying stagnant or not as big of an increase. But as Courtney said, land still trading hands. We might not see those resetting of the market sales, but still with the relative increases year over year there type thing, just maybe not as of a great of an increase as past. But this crop year will tell us quite a bit too, and then see going into the second half of the year as well.
Okay, well, I want to talk about why. We're going to get there here shortly. But Devron's thrown into the chat here. Have you been following the property tax fraud being reported by the Real Estate Mindset USA and Market Mania Canada? The lawsuit started in Texas Supreme Court, none in Canada yet. Synopsis is that town, city, municipal, provincial bonds are being raised based upon land assessed values. The issue is the software providers are using the bond value to then deploy tax increases. In essence, a never-ending mortgage and you don't truly own the land. I've looked at tax values in my RM. Quarter zone now for sale by the RM, unfarmable, treed, limited grazing, have assessed values over the past 6 years going up 100 to 150%. I know some farmers near Brandon, same thing, land values going up 100 to 150%. Any comment on that or perspective? Might be out the screen. So sorry
Yeah,
to skip this conversation.
I'm not kind of familiar with this, but I do think like lower quality land, whether it's pasture or kind of mixed farmland, that they have seen kind of an increase in assessment, but it's relative. That the percentage could be higher, but really the absolute dollars probably aren't as great as they would be. So the percentage might not quite tell the whole story. I don't know.
That's a whole nother conversation, I think, Devron, that be very interested to know more about. And if anybody in the chat has perspective or interest in that, let us know. Let's talk about the audience's next move. What is your most likely land move in the next 12 months? Are you going to buy? Are you going to sell? Are you going to hold? Are you going to rent before purchase? Are you going to do an international purchase? I'm thinking Belize. I'm thinking Nicaragua. I'm thinking Panama. I'm thinking Thailand. I'm thinking international. Hey, maybe you're buying international. We want to know. But so let's unpack the strategic thing, because the report's consistent theme is strategic, efficiency-focused purchases. And Robert Angelic pounds the table about this, getting more efficient, improving land use efficiency with the size of equipment and the cost of fuel and all that stuff. Is that a huge major driver? Like land's expensive, but I need to strategically expand because there's a right fit at certain acres, and this acres I'm at is awkward, and I need to, this and that. What is everybody seeing out there? Who wants to take that one? Bobby, you're farming. What's the strategic impetus for buying farmland? How much of a driver is that?
I'd say on our farm, we're in a holding pattern. I'm going to assume that the chat kind of favors the hold selection, but that's just kind of with maybe some of the volatility this year. There's some participants out there that are just going to ride it out, wait and see.
Do you see a lot of folks coming and saying, okay, I got to get my checkbook out because I'm going to be more efficient at this size, or farming this whole section is going to make so much more sense than, or are they getting rid of land farther away and consolidating closer to home? Or
we're seeing a little bit of it. Sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're definitely seeing some strategic land purchases or sales based on, again, what is the plan for their operation? What's the right size? What's the most efficient size? And if they're for their equipment setup, if they're 5,000 acres and they can do it all they can do 6,000 with the same and be more efficient and get that land power machinery cost per acre under a little bit less than they are, maybe paying a tiny bit more or driving the market. Again, this is where the micro market comes in for that land to get to that size because it fits for their operation. So there's a lot of strategic push movements and selling land further away because it's not efficient anymore, whatever that looks like.
I like that, Courtney, because if you're a good manager, then you're a good operator and you know your numbers and you're trying to do the right strategic thing, that means that you have an edge, right? Because it is a bit of a competition. We are capitalists. This isn't, we're not Bolshevik here in nature.
And I got a comment on that. Like, I do think, producers who are still in acquisition mode, right, is that they are being strategic about it. Because I can give an example this winter where, we went to one of the larger producers in that area with a, not on the market opportunity yet. It was really good land. And but it was further away from him, and he passed on it. And like his comment to me was, like, I've had 5 of my neighbors kind of approach me, not on the market, but just directly about thinking about selling. And so I've kind of changed my tune a little bit. Is I might have more available to me than what I've had to compete for in the past. And so that's an experience where I think, yes, I think people are being more strategic. If they have more to pick from, they're going to be selective.
And maybe some farms are offloading some assets to improve and consolidate their financial position to
Yes.
somebody who's not going to compete with them and farm next to them. Is that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Bob Evans is saying a long time ago, when the Western Seducer classified were still the main venue for land sales. That's interesting. I should have put that in the survey. Les Henry, God bless his soul, did an assessment of what was for sale over time. His conclusion was that something like 80% of the listed land was salt or sand. The old 80-20 rule, it haunts me. Everywhere I go, the Pareto principle is after me. I can't get away. IOW, the good land is rarely for sale and the shit is always available. It sounds like nothing has changed. Well, same old country song. Comments? 80%?
That's actually that's a great insight. Because when times get tough, it is the weaker land that comes on the market. And I guess that speaks to this whole conversation right now is about risk, right? Is because when times are tougher, and I'm not saying they're tough right now, but when they are tougher, it is the weaker land that drops in price first. It's less strategic for your farm. And so, yes, I could see that going on the market and having fewer people interested in it.
Bingo. Can't make money on the crop. You got to offload it. Tired of farming it. Like, let's face it. I was going to make an analogy, but I'm actually going to filter that for one of the first times in my life. I was going to make an analogy, but maybe any land looks good when canola is 22. It's like I could probably get 30 bushels on that if it rained. No, it's like you're drunk, go home, and now it's like different feelings, right? Because you're doing the math even on good land. And what were we talking about? We're talking about, I know in our area too, making huge cereal yields, and still it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like the end of last year and going into this year, even before some of the crazy geopolitical things. So what? Okay, Tim, last challenge. What percentage of folks are going to hold as their next move?
High percentage, 2/3.
Ooh. 45% are holding.
Okay.
So 25% are buying, 11% are selling, 45% are holding, 20% are doing rent before purchase, and nobody is making an international purchase.
I'd say you're even like seeing a combination of that as like I've had numerous conversations of guys being like having 8 quarters available to them and they're not willing to stick their neck out that much for it. But like, I'll buy 3 of those quarters and then rent the next 5 with an agreement to purchase and when the lease is up. So it's more of hedging more so than, and if we would have that conversation 4 years ago, it's like, no, I want all 8 quarters right now type thing. So
Stephen Angelic's on the call. You're not making an international purchase anywhere? Come on. Somebody's got to be. Take me with you if you are. No, I appreciate your perspective on that, Conrad. That's interesting. And so the other thing I wanted to unpack here quickly too is the report talked about, it said persistent succession challenges help sustain price. How do persistent succession challenges help sustain price, Conrad?
Like succession, like from the next generation?
It was a line in there. I thought, like, what do they mean? What does the person that wrote that mean? Because I think, like, so we talked about the strategic impetus for buying land, but what are the succession pressures under the hood? Like, hey, I just talked to a farmer in your area, actually, who was trying to get registered for the webinar and needed some technical assistance. We ended up talking for an hour or two there. And he said, like, yeah, I'm kind of looking like what to do next. I don't have any kids taking things over. And he said, I'm not sure what I'm doing next. So where we talk about what 60-70% of land's going to change hands just by virtue of all the boomers doing the line dance, buying, a quarter of land around Yorkton for 10 pierogies back in the day. Like what how is succession influencing farmland values, Conrad, according to the report? Do you know?
I think so. The report was, I think it's 65% of farmland in Saskatchewan is owned by people 65 or older. And then with the succession side of things, is there a next generation to take over the farm, or is this going to a third party? So when we see, like, if it's the next generation taking over the farm, generally those can be below fair market value sales, or if they're not, and they're not stuff that ever, like, I don't say those ones influence the market as much because they never hit the market. They're internal. And then with the succession one is, are you, like, if there's no one to take over, they're offloading it, or are they renting it and holding on as their balance sheet increases from there with the year over year increase? And that might be the driving factor of land start slowing down. Is there more, or even people aging out, is there going to be more land increasing the supply? Because right now, I'd say historically the driver of land prices has been scarcity. As we said earlier, they're not making more of it. So
Should have sold. It's like the house in Arizona should have sold 2 years ago. Now there's just a bunch of folks that want to get out of the U.S. But anyways, I'm going at the end of the month, and I'm using the house because it couldn't sell. That's perfect. By the way, we're having a non-farming siblings chat because I dropped Courtney in our session. We talked so many non-farming little things, non-farming siblings things. Patty Duran called me. She's like, "Oh man, we got to talk about this." So that's going to be an interesting one. But I always joke about Steve Angelic says we have the most productive land and best producers right here, Dan. Aw. Did you vote on what your next move is? I think everybody on the call would love to know what Angelic Land might be doing and thinking next. Come on, let us know what mover and shaker over there. You can share. You can share, Steve. Go ahead,
Dan,
Tim.
I got a question for the lenders. And so, like, I meet on a monthly basis with BDC here in Saskatoon, just kind of a business club, and kind of get their take on what's going on in the business community, right? And so I get some insight into what's going on in Saskatchewan, but also kind of all of Canada. And one of their observations are that Saskatchewan is kind of like mixed, not great, right? BC is not. Rates are going down. So when somebody makes a loan application, there's fewer people being approved for it, and there's also fewer people applying for loans. So I'm just wondering. I think agriculture is a lot healthier than probably the rest of the industry. But I'm wondering what's Farm Credit seeing, and what's Scotiabank seeing.
Talk to us.
Yeah, I can go first. Again, I think agriculture is a little bit different than the general business community. Like at Scotiabank, our ag team, I want to say, we have lots of conversations with potential borrowers or client looking for an opportunity. That there are some that just doesn't make sense. We might need to wait a year. We might need to kind of see how things shape up in certain areas. No formal declines, I'll say, like, again, from our side, and we cover the entire market, but we don't we never get to the point where we would have a decline because we would know ahead of time in a conversation. So that's tricky for us to say. So I mean, to say that we don't have formal declines, we were not going to submit something to credit that we don't think obviously. So
I'm thinking I should ask the audience, how many of you have been declined?
Yeah,
Call Courtney. She's got a special discount today. She's giving out farmland money.
No, so I think from we're all in on agriculture. Our team is growing, and we're growing quite rapidly. And I would say that that's an indication of support and appetite in agriculture specifically. There's Canadian agriculture as a whole is set up very well to shine in this whole geopolitical, economic world that we live in right now. And I think everyone is seeing that agriculture is a great place to be and invest, and we have to feed the world. We have to get more efficient. We have to do what we do best. And, we at Scotiabank are here to support and grow.
Amen. Never mind the Strait of Hormuz. Have you heard the Strait of Saskatchewan? Bum, bum. Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Another comment there?
I was just gonna say, yeah, from FCC's perspective, ag is still like we're here to support ag, and I haven't been delving into any like if it's new land purchases. If it's not a yes, it's where does the yes land type thing. So that's where it is. I wouldn't say I have too many declines out there, if any, on new land purchases. It might not be. It's more of you want these 10 quarters. Well, based off the analysis, you can comfortably afford 6 or 7, but it's never like I have not seen like the nose going out the door increase any comparable to the past there. So
also maybe I could get some farmland too. Then Conrad, you should give me a call after if you're not going to turn me down. Let's talk. I'm bullish, real bullish.
Let's see how sharp your pencil is there.
Oh, wow. I sharpened my pencil. This is taking me back to the post-traumatic disorder there I got from selling farm iron for 13 years. Just kidding. I loved it. It was fun. Fun negotiations. Harry Siemens is saying, great question, Tim. How many loans get turned down by lenders? And that was answered. Thank you. Ed Spigot said, with respect to succession, how are lenders underwriting farmland acquisitions today when land income alone doesn't support DSCR? Obviously, you will rely on global cash flow and equity. Any tips on structure?
That's a great question. I think we talked a little bit about when anybody's making any type of acquisition or taking advantage of an opportunity to expand in any way. Sometimes it doesn't always pencil out for that farmland itself to, debt service based on exactly what's going to be produced on that land. And you're relying on, the bit of the operation in the background, gaining equity while you make principal payments. You're, still gaining equity in the appreciation in the land value too, if it continues to go up. So, I think from a structure standpoint on our side, it's not to overly simplify it, but is the global cash flow there? And so not just from that land, but from the whole operation, and does it fit into your strategy? Is the equity there for the whole operation to support? Again, we look at, there's very many different structures out there for farms, different partnerships, joint ventures, various corporations working together. And when we're making a lending decision, it's the farm as a whole. And does the farm as a whole support that acquisition? Does it fit into the bigger picture? And lots of institutions can get creative on structure. There's not to say that it's there's no one size fits all structure, and so it's hard to comment on exactly what that'll look like for everybody. But there are ways to structure things to be more creative, maybe think a little bit outside the box. If it's brand new land and you're upsizing, is there a portion in time that you're interest only before you start making principal payments? Lenders can get quite creative and work with you as long as it fits within the bigger plan and the numbers sort of pencil out as a whole.
Creative lending, is that on record now? Creative lending, that's a thing?
There is creative lending.
Make your debt work for you. There are certain debt structures to make your debt work for you. And each financial institution has their own products that can facilitate that.
My land empire is only growing based on this conversation. It's getting bigger. I'm going to be a big landholder when I grow up. I want to do number one takeaway, because this has been awesome. We got 6 minutes to go. We're going to wrap this up. This is a short answer. Put a couple words in there. We'll go through them quickly. But what is your number one takeaway from this session? Actually, I've got to go back. I think still got one shared. Stop sharing. Sorry about that. Let's start bringing this home around the horn. Final thoughts. Let's start with you, Bobby.
Yeah, number one takeaway, I guess specifically to my real estate business, I'm still long on farmland. Yes, there's been a bit of a sentiment shift to kind of this later half of our selling season after kind of Christmas, before this growing season kicks off. But Yeah, long term, I still think farmland's a great investment. There might be a bit of a split in the market where that's going to go. I don't know, but I can't see a drastic decrease here. So, yeah, that might just be the delusionally optimistic farmer in me, but that's my 2 cents.
Have to be, have to be. How are you feeling about spring? What's you got the drill out in the yard? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's still a little soft. We farm in that heavy Regina clay kind of gumbo around home, so we
Yeah.
usually are waiting a little longer to get out and get the drill unfolded. But we're kind of kicking around the yard and trying to get a lot of this real estate stuff wrapped up before I get out there too much, because I usually have to go field the call when I'm mid wrench torque sort of thing. So trying to get everything wrapped up and put the farmer hat on for the year, but getting excited for it. Always do. I think all farmers get excited this time of year. So it's
Well,
just,
I bet you it really helps your real estate business to know what farmers are going through and be able to relate to them and speak their language. So good for you, Bobby, and good to have you on the show. And Courtney, what was your number one takeaway from this conversation?
I think there's a lot of the market's dynamic, and there's a lot of different things happening in different areas. I think I don't know. I think my biggest takeaway is just that conversations like this are happening all the time, and that we're all connected. We're all working together and here to support the industry. And I mean, bit of an optimist on my side too. Canadian agriculture is, there's always going to be headwinds for sure. There's always something happening, but we're set up very well to succeed as a whole country and doing what we do best and growing good food for the world. And there's so much good opportunity to continue to be more efficient and bring in different players to your dream team, going back from our sort of last discussion.
I'm
It's
expecting
exciting.
the outro music to start here any minute, like, or the Canadian anthem or something, because
Yeah.
Courtney's just here to
Good
inspire
close
and
on.
hug the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's it is exciting. Like, there's headwinds, there's, our margin's going to be a little bit depressed maybe this year. There's always something happening. Are there going to be if there's a split in market in the land market, if some land is going to continue to marginally increase or largely increase in some areas, are there some maybe smaller marginal parcels that are going to be potentially going sideways or down in value a little bit? Yes, but this is also not new, and so we've dealt with this before in the market, and we're going to continue to do what we do best in spite of everything that's happening.
I love the confidence. It's just calming. Your confidence is calming, Courtney. Steady as she goes. I love it. Thanks for coming on the show and giving the lending perspective. And yeah, we had a really fun time on Build Your Ag Team. That was incredible. And the feedback was great. Courtney assembled literally a superhero of folks that I dressed up with AI. If you caught the episode, I put them all in heroes suits, which Courtney loved. Conrad, what's your biggest takeaway today?
It sounds like with all of us chatting here, we can feel the hesitancy in the ag market, but with a very strong dose of optimism. And I don't just mean from our side of the table, I mean on the producer side as well. I normally say, as the farmers tend to be pessimists, so I got to be the optimist on the other side of the line. And I'm finding that I don't need to be the optimist as much, but all this kind of is telling me is there's going to be opportunity for growth for people looking to grow or the young farmers. So with all the potential land that could be available being bought or rented. And so my advice is just know your cost structure, know your numbers, and keep your advisory team informed so you can be agile in any decisions or opportunities that might come up.
Cool. Well, and I put everybody's contact into the chat. So if you want to reach out to any of these folks, Conrad, I'm sure you get a lot of incoming, and it's probably a big part of your day is dealing with producers. So it was great to see you, and honestly, it really warms my heart that FCC is part of this conversation because it's a needed perspective. And thank you so much for coming on, Conrad. I appreciate that, and powers that be at FCC for coming to Growing the Future. And of course, Tim, Did you want to, should we take a look at some of the number one takeaways from the folks first so you could reflect on that? I know you have your own too, but we shared this. Where did it go? Can you see it? I can't see it. I got too many windows here. Maybe I'll find that somewhere here. Can you see that? Oh, view details, sorry. Can you see it yet?
Oh, I just see poll number 4, number one takeaway. But
Okay,
I
let
don't.
me I can share this. And then Tim, you can go ahead and give us your perspective on what's your number one takeaway, Tim?
What I love is, and I mean, it's just the farming community, right? Is acknowledging that there may be some headwinds ahead of us, but there's also opportunity in those challenges, right? And what's the best way through it? And it's maybe not a full purchase; it's the part purchase. I just love how the lenders can look at this from multiple different ways to try to make it work, and I think that's a real strength in our industry. And this conversation really brought that out as well, right? Like everyone's pulling for the opportunity in here. And I guess my number two takeaway is there's still 25% that want to buy land. And we got two lenders want to give money out there, and we got 100 listings on our website. Go check them out, Dan.
Yeah, for sure. You just go to I can use this internet device to see what you're saying there. Absolutely. So that's a big opportunity to connect with folks on the call, and hopefully you're getting value out of it. But Harry Siemens says his takeaway was being real, no big sales pitches, keep it up. Drew Fowler says good land pays, be sure that's what you're buying. Good advice. Kyle Dormuth from MNP says people think land prices will be flat. That was a little bit of a aha. That was a little bit of a ha-ha. Although I guess Tim, you guessed that pretty good. John Mako said variable effects across geographies and locations. J. Van Farm, sorry, not sure exactly who that is. Land values will hold. Difficult to make it with low margins today. We have a couple large producers around us who are growing their farm, so interest in land persists. Wayne Truman, I believe it's Wayne Truman, says information is knowledge. Thank you. Martha Holmes said no answer. Okay. Sit 1031. Welcome. Demand and quality of land is what's driving price. Irrigation expansion in Lake Diefenbaker. That is really interesting. We didn't get there. Maybe that's another episode, but J.E. Porter, 309. Creative financing. I agree. That was my big takeaway. I want some creative financing for podcasters. Randy Kading. Hey, Randy. Agricultural will be a safe place with all the world uncertainty. Funny how that's inverse, isn't it? And Kimberly Martin from Synergy AG. Tell Brad Hamner that I got a call from Stars, and we are going to do Ag Rocks for Stars in September at the Rescue on the River. There, I put that out in the world. Now it's on the internet. So Brad, Kimberly, tell Brad he's on, and we're doing Sweet Child of Mine. I'll learn the solo again. It'll take me 8 months, but Adria Farm said quite a lot of similar convo, like in 79 and 80, except for interest rates. Interesting. Going way back. Organic inspection at gmail.com. Hold on to land already paid for. Rent. Hold on to land already paid for. Rent before selling. Don in Winnipeg, thanks for joining. Good farmland was and is still the best investment compared to the poor quality land. Always has been like this. Problems is timing. Can't control when you're born, LOL. Amen. We cannot control when. Can we control when we die, though? That's another episode, but I want to live to 189. Tim will get into the longevity episode one day. And Riley at fusiongrain.com gets a last word. Or no, we still got page 2. Until farm debt service gets tight, farmland will remain strong. Yeah, that's that. So anyways, thanks so much for coming on the show. Tim, what do you think?
Oh, I think it was great. And, just Courtney's and, Conrad's, points having conversations like this is awesome, right? And involving everybody, right? It's how, you need different perspectives and to respect those as well, too. And that's what helps us kind of formulate our own decisions. And yeah, just honored to be a part of it. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, everybody. Stephen Jellick says, thanks to all the panelists. So thank you, Conrad. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Bobby. Steve Angelic says, thanks to all the panelists for a fascinating chat. And as always, great job hosting. Dan Lars Rogers says, good session. Thanks, everyone. Hey, I appreciate it. I feel like we're building a little bit of a community here. Tim, if I was put you on the stop and I'll put you on the spot here and ask you, what do you think is the next big topic we should tackle? Put it in the chat. What should we talk about?
That's a good idea.
Because you have, like, Tim, you have a whole fleet of topics there too, with the M&A and stuff, and then all the experts, succession, this and that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really kind of unlimited, right? Like, I'd like to talk about our M&A kind of approach to things, and even just how we're approaching farmland transactions differently, more from an advisory kind of position than kind of a realtor position, and also just about land management, right? How we do that, right of first refusals. Man, I could do a year long master class on that, about the complexities and how they can be good and how they can be. Anyway, it's endless, Dan.
You're a man after my own heart. You get very, very excited. What about FCC? What would FCC want to do next, Conrad?
I would like to cost structures or anything like that. What are people setting up for best for agility and viability? That would be an interesting topic. I like hearing how everyone does different things. There are different ideas out there. So,
yeah.
Courtney, what's your next big idea? You did the dream team. Can you top that?
I don't think there's any. You just got to win while you're ahead, I think.
Oh, come on.
There's lots of really good topics. Like, again, interested to hear what the audience might want to hear from. We're, as from the lender, from the bank standpoint, we can talk about all sorts of different things, and even interest rate, where we think the interest rate markets are going, and what sort of those indicators are putting on the field and things like that. If anything, there's lots of different topics, and it's just interested to hear where the audience might want to ever hear from us.
Lars Rogers says he would like an update from M&P on their benchmarking in 2025. How much are margins really declining for top managers and farmers? I promise you, I am working on that, Lars. And then tomorrow we're doing a What the Weather Knows with Drew Lerner. And we have close to 400 folks signed up to hear what Drew's going to say. Is it going to snow on Thursday? Yeah, and then next week we have this non-farming siblings talk with Patty Durand and Chris Corbett, which is going to be super fun. We're pulling back the curtain on those family succession conversations. And then, should I even say, but Thursday, I believe we are scheduled, sneak peek here, Steffes Auction Services, Jason LeBlanc and Scott Steffes are coming on to talk about, should you buy iron right now? Is it actually a time to buy, and why? Scott, I mean, this is, you guys, we're going back into iron. I'm excited. I sold iron for a long time. That's going to be a big one. That's going to be, I'm expecting a lot of demand for that conversation, because what if there's actually a cycle that we're slightly behind that, is showing us you should be buying iron now. Ooh. What if you could come on the show? Alex Clark is saying a panel with multiple different lenders from multiple different banks and a matching number of farmers having an open conversation about financing structures, build a bit of transparency in what is out there. Lots of farmers don't even know how to be creative with financing structures to make them work for them, because they don't even know what exists in the marketplace. Whew, lots of work to be done. We will keep at her here at Growing the Future. Thanks everybody for the attending. As always, the recordings will be on YouTube and on the podcast. And Harry Siemens is saying a good farm management specialist like Darren Bond, man, ag would be a good topic. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate you all. Take care. And carry on there despite, I guess, adversity. God hates a coward. I'll leave it at that. Thanks everybody. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.